You need people that are very attentive, that are knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But what that does is not only that you're just listening like, oh wow, that's nice, but rather you're educating yourself and you're allowing the reciter to elevate.
Yes.
Because it's like, I can just say anything and I'll get away with it because they're not very good listening.
One part is how it's difficult for me as a reciter or for new guys. How difficult for the community? So we have two questions.
When you're holding on to Ahl Bayt, I think we really need to revisit our connection with the Holy Quran, especially in this month.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. يسألونك عن الأنفال.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Respected scholars, elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this episode, we have a very, very special set of questions that we're going to answer tonight, inshallah. And I'm joined in this very unique episode in the month of Ramadan by my dearest brother, Dr Mortaza Saberi.
Okay.
Habibi, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you amongst us. So inshallah we can learn, and in turn the dear listeners and the viewers can learn as well from your wealth of knowledge.
Inshallah. Thanks for the invite.
Just for our listeners and viewers, I want to give a brief background because many people might not know you as well as I do, and maybe haven't listened to you as much as I do. So just briefly, just so everyone else knows, my dearest friend, Dr. Mortaza, it's actually doctor, because people often, and it's very interesting that people pursue religious studies. So you'll have, for example, the sheikhs, the sayyids, the rawadid, the Quran reciters like yourself. And oftentimes you say that I either give all my time and effort towards serving, which is a merit in itself. But often you'll find themselves struggling with, other things outside, servitude. But that when they look at you, and inshallah, when they see what you can offer and the wealth of knowledge that you have, and then they realize, oh, hold on, he's actually a doctor as well. So not only have you pursued Quran for all those years, but also pursued your studies. Just put into perspective, as we all know, beautiful, very, very renowned Quran reciter. Beautiful voice, emotional, very moving to listen to. You're born and raised in Iran, for our listeners, and you've studied the Bachelor of Computer Science in Iran, moved to Australia, completed your PhD, Artificial Intelligence, and you're currently a senior lecturer in the University of Technology, Sydney.
Yes,
is that correct?
Yeah, that's true.
UTS. Yeah. And just for everyone that's not familiar with, the Sydney universities, this is definitely of the top 3 in the entire Australia, I'd say, and especially Sydney is even more difficult to get into. So that is an achievement in itself and testimony to how much effort you've put in. And yeah, you've recited all over the world. You've won competitions, you've won so many awards, competitions both obviously in Iran and also in Europe. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true.
There we go. And obviously you focus a lot on Quranic Maqamaat at an advanced level, and you've helped a lot of youth achieve that through your teachings. Is that correct as well?
That's true. Yeah.
MashaAllah. So just that in itself should kind of give the listeners and the viewers an understanding of everything that you do on a day-to-day basis. And so now we take, the doctor side to one side,
Sure.
and we're going to focus on the Quranic side and your experience with that for tonight. So in a brief overview from tonight's, conversation, inshallah, the viewers, I expect them, inshallah, to learn from the wealth. Amongst the things that they're going to learn tonight is the melodies, which is very, very interesting because a lot of people listen to Quranic recitations. And especially in the time of Ramadan, everyone's acquainted with the Quran. Everyone begins to try and finish the whole Quran by the end of the month. So they try to follow the one juz' per night kind of rule. And then they often find themselves, mesmerized by particular reciters when they listen to particular vocals. And they, some people are very acquainted with it. Some people don't know what they're listening to, but they know that it's quite beautiful. So tonight, inshallah, before we get into it, I want to ask, as a Quran reciter, many people ask, how does a Quran reciter become inspired to delve into? So my first question to you is, what inspired you? At what age and how were you inspired? First question.
First, thanks for your nice introduction.
Habibi.
And I think it is a bit difficult question, but if I can remember correctly, so we had a family gathering each Friday night as an extended family. So during the year, and they, sitting as a circle, having the Quran recitation.
Beautiful.
Big people, kids like us, and it's kind of gather form, it's like kind of, very friendly circle. You have a bit of recitation and nice getting a bit of gift, seeing your uncle, cousin, and you try to have a bit of competition.
Nothing on the professional level yet.
No.
It was just,
very, I should say not professional.
Relaxed.
Very relaxed.
Yeah.
We had some people, they knew that if you make the Arabi, for example, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, if you recite Alhamdulillah, for example, they say this is incorrect, but nothing more than even not tajweed. But I think that vibe was very important for me, at least for my case, that I thought Quran recitation is important. My family like it, my father like it, my grandfather like it. So
how old were you then?
I think maybe 7 or 6.
MashaAllah.
Something like that.
So from that young age, you knew.
I think.
Yeah.
That is one part.
Beautiful.
The second part, alhamdulillah, in Iran is you have a competition in the schools. And then I thought, that competition is nice. I want to just be there, like a recognition for the kids always is important.
Yeah.
I remember on that time I had a very long breath and people used to,
be very impressed.
Endorse me. Oh, how you have a very big breath. But I was not happy with my voice though. So a bit,
you weren't happy with your voice
on that age.
Okay, I'm just
maybe another reason, because in my city, that city is my tribe, I should say, they are famous to having a very good voice.
MashaAllah.
So my voice maybe for them is like a normal. So the expectation
for the Iranian listeners, what's the tribe so we know?
So it's a small city in Iran. We call it Tafresh. And we have a small village. We call it Kahak. So those people usually they have a good voice and they have a good handwriting.
MashaAllah.
So maybe that's the reason that I wasn't happy with my voice. And usually you don't know where is your voice when you're kids. But I think all of this, the competition, my passion to be a good reciters, and listening to all the qira'at. We did not have a good reciters in our city, but somehow I come to this field. Still, I don't know why and how, but it's happened.
That's how you go into. Okay, so that's beautiful. And you said at 7 years of age.
Yeah, so
that's where it started.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask you, because all of us, starting off in any field, for example, even for me with lecturing, you always had someone that you look up to, that you like to listen to. Who was that for you as a reciter?
On that time, I think all of Iranian at that time, like Shahat Anwar from Egypt. So from
the father?
The father. Not Mahmoud. Anwar is a son as well.
Anwar is a son?
Anwar and Mahmoud is a son. And Shahat Muhammad, who has been died, is a father. And that time we used to listen to him.
Okay, no Abdul Basit.
Not myself. A lot of people get to Quran via Abdul Basit. But myself, somehow I did not like it. I don't know. Maybe my voice is very heavy.
So you like the father?
Yeah.
The Shahat father. You liked it. And now?
Now I'm listening to different reciters. For example, I like Mustafa Ismail, I like Abdul Fattah Shahshai.
Okay.
And Menshawi. Keep listening to different, like Rif'at. I love Imam al-Ghurra, we call it Muhammad Rif'at. Very famous, very old reciters, but very, mashallah, colorful voice. And
beautiful.
And we can talk about that one, because one of your points, I love your start that you mentioned that in Ramadan, we have people listening to Quran. Some of them, they don't know. They just say, that's nice. So this point just remind me that why, one reason for Egyptian reciter to be good, they call it, we had a good sami'ah, or listener.
Ahsant.
So if they want to do some things out of range, or if they do something which is not very in a good level, the Samia, they complain, they stop them.
So if you're reciting and you're a Quran reciter, we're going to talk about the Maqamaat, if you go outside of the normal range, the listeners will stop you or will correct you. Really?
Correct you. If you, for example, forget the ayat, they are huffaz and they help you to...
Because they've memorized it. Yeah.
Some of the Samia. So
MashaAllah.
Egyptian used to have a very good Samia as a huffaz. So it's not just for Maqamaat, it is for if you make a mistake, if you forget the ayat. If, for example, I think you are going to ask that question, that if the reciters using the maqam which is not compatible with the ayah, ma'ani, with the meanings, they stop him and they say, why you are doing that? So, and I think in your start is very nice that, hopefully, maybe, I don't know, because we need a lot of discussion, but hopefully a bit of, discussion and knowledge, maybe information from my side, that if we try to have a good Samia or listener, we need a good one.
Ahsant.
So to be, I don't know if this is the right word or not, we don't need a dumb one. We need a very smart Samia. And for me also it's useful for all the
because that what you're saying is you need people that are very attentive, that are knowledgeable. Yeah. But what that does is not only that you're just listening like, oh wow, that's nice, but rather you're educating yourself and you're allowing the reciter to elevate.
Yes.
Because it's like, I can just say anything and I'll get away with it because they're not very good listeners.
Yeah.
But if you know that they're very attentive, they're huffaz, they know the maqamat, they know the ahkam of tilawah, all of a sudden you're on edge. You're like, I have to be 100%. I have to be perfect. And so that kind of elevates you.
And we have two sides. One side which usually we miss it is we have some people a bit critical. I don't want to bring the name or country, but usually when you recite for them, they're very critical. If you do a mistake, they try to correct you. But if you do a good thing, they say they take it for granted. But we need a Samia and listener do it both sides. If you are bad, you are bad. If you are good, you are good. And we are missing this part maybe in the Shia circle, in the Shia community, that we need to help the reciters emotionally.
Because
this is an emotional art. You don't get a lot of attention. Is if you put a lot of effort, you need a bit of nice reaction.
100%. Yeah.
So both sides.
Because you see that in like recitations in other countries, by the end of the ayah, let's say you said you had a very long breath. Yeah. Some reciters that I've seen online, by the end of it, like I'd seen people jumping up in the crowd, and the reciter can't contain himself. Like he's trying to hold his smile down, and like you said, it definitely plays a massive role in how it molds the reciter. But like you said, the community, often we call out, being Shia, we always say, hold on to the two weighty things, and we, one of the critics against the Shia school of thought is like, you hold on to Ahlul Bayt and you forget everything else. Well, that's not true. But in essence, when it comes towards the Quran, many of us do have to ask, how much do we actually open the Quran? How much do we actually read the Quran? How much do we actually know the ahkam of the Quran, even to recite it? Most of the times we're following someone that is reciting. But how often can we open the Quran and read for ourselves without making any mistakes? And we really need to appreciate not just the reciting, but the deeper meanings that are within it. Because if we call ourselves Shia, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib says to Imam al-Hasan, one of the most fundamental things that he says, make sure that no one knows the Quran more than you. And that is passed on to Shia. Imam Sadiq says to the Shia, a Shia is known if he's in a community that no one knows the Quran better than he does. So if we want to hold on to Ahlul Bayt, Rasulullah says hold on to two weighty things. When you're holding on to Ahlul Bayt, I think we really need to revisit our connection with the Holy Quran, especially in this month, and use that as a bridge from one Ramadan to another to say that I have learnt more, I've understood more, I've delved more into the tafsir as well as how to recite it in the perfect manner. And one of the ways that people get connected to the Quran is what we're discussing tonight, is by looking at the beauty and the emotional aspect of the recitation. Because some people, They're like, all right, we'll open the Quran in, you know, when it's Katb Kitab, someone's getting married or when someone dies. That's the only time it comes out of the shelf, and Ramadan. So other times people like, we heard something very beautiful. It moved us, you know, and this is just not just people that, you know Arabic, not just Muslims. Many times you've seen online that someone's reciting so beautifully the words of the Quran in different maqam, and people are like mesmerized from just a recitation, and that in itself allows them to try to ask, what is that thing that I'm listening to? You know, what are these words? You know, they've penetrated my soul, and then they come towards Islam just from a recitation. That's how powerful something like a well-developed voice and ilqa can be. So, you know, for me, it's been Mahmoud al-Shahat growing up. I've followed him. I love his recitations, and you know, when you listen, sometimes when you hear people, you're like, he's following Shahat, and then you develop that the more you listen, of course. So my question is, how difficult is it? Like, let's say to start in this journey of, I want to learn.
Okay, I think I don't want to change the question, but
you can go back, whatever you like.
Yeah, I want to add something.
Bismillah.
Along with your question one part is, how is difficult for me as a reciter or for new guys? How difficult for the community? So we have two questions.
Ahsant.
So for the youth, it is usually in the West is very difficult, because to be like a reciter like in a Mahmoud Shahat style, which we call it tahliq, in a slow recitation, to me at least take 5 years. At least
5 years.
At least.
From scratch?
Yeah.
5 years. Okay.
At least to then, if for example, if I want to call someone as a reciters, he need at least 5 years to practice.
Okay.
And for that one, he need teacher. Not only teacher, he need a circle of reciters, professional reciters, and he should be able to attend the umsiya of the Quran, the event of the Quran, which you can see now it is missing in the community.
Okay.
So one is teacher. We don't have many Quran classes for example, in Sydney.
Yeah.
Another one, we don't have a lot of resources. For example, the ustads who knows the Maqamaat, we don't have it.
That's correct.
And it is not only Maqamaat, it is Maqamaat and the way of recitation. So that's one part, at least 5 years. The second part, which I wanna touch is, I wanna defend my community that some of them, they don't like Quran Umsiya or Quran event, because unfortunately our reciters, they don't take that art to another level or customize it for the Shia circle.
So I'm going to bring you back. Can you elaborate on Umsiya?
Umsiya means event or
Quran event. So
Quran event.
Yeah. So is it like, how often are we talking that this particular event?
In Sydney, I know we just some like a Shia. Most they just used to have it in Ramadan, like once a year in a Ramadan,
where they kind of gather.
Yeah, gather all like 4 or 5 reciters, and they're sitting and they're reciting. But for example, myself, I did it something else. We call it Nafahatul Quran. Each month we had it since 2017. But now I want to back to the issue that if you want to just have Umsi of Quran or Quranic event, it can be boring for the community, because our reciters, they don't know how communicate with the people who used to listen to the Radut.
Okay.
So the point is, and some mistake is not for them. For example, وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. This is a surah for Amir al-Mu'minin. As a reciter, do I know? I don't know. I know, but all of them don't know.
Yeah, they might know.
And then, do you know that our Samia know this is about Amir al-Mu'minin? Some of them, they don't know. And you see that role, how you try to convey the meaning of Quran and true meaning of the Quran to your listener for hope of, for example, Amir al-Mu'minin, that's very difficult. And I mean, so you can be Mahmoud Shahat, but I think for the people who used to cry for example, Imam al-Hussein, then this recitation is not touchy enough. Okay. It's not. It can be. Then you need tricks. And I can talk about the tricks. Then one of the tricks is, I think it is missing in our community is, for example, if we have a big event, they invite reciters, that's okay.
Yeah.
They start the reciters as a first person. That's it's still okay, but he's not featured. If you want to give the weight to recitation, okay, coming up with a nice event, put the recitation as a featured reciters and vocalist, for example,
Yes.
in middle, and then you see how it changed the perspective of audience.
Okay.
So you see, I mean, whole different set of techniques. You need to just break this barrier.
That's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, growing up, even in the Arabic community, like I know for a fact that everything that's, you know, you start off Quran, always first Quran. And sometimes, you know, they might not find someone, they just get anyone to come up. Yeah, ta'al, read you know, two ayat and Bismillah. Yeah. And he's struggling to find something on his phone, you know, and you're just waiting for him to get off. So as reciters, sometimes, you know, I when you're waiting for the program to start and you see sometimes, you know, I wouldn't call it like disrespecting the art, but you're not giving it its true value. Because, you know, even sometimes there's reciters that I know very well have spent years, you know, working on themselves, working on their recitation, and people call them and they get very excited because especially the youth, they get very excited to speak. And then when they're about to go up, they tapped on the shoulder, like 5 minutes. So you've experienced it. So, and that's something I know that they struggle with, and I'm sure you struggle with that as well, because like we said before, we have to give the Quran equal meaning. Yes, there is a need to explain the Quran further, to allow them to delve into the meaning, to create a connection, like you were saying. But that is something I think we need to change. That's true. The respect. 100%. So you're saying one of the ways that we can change that is to have something prior to it and allow it to be one of the feature, maybe before the lecture, just before, after the lecture, or maybe even have a program as him being the main feature. Maybe someone doing a tafsir of what he's going to be reciting so people understand it. And then afterwards, some maybe poetry or words afterwards explaining what you've recited, but not 5 minutes.
Even sometimes logistically, we are doing mistake. I remember I used to be invited to one of Iranian association. We call it Hayat. So they thought that, okay, Quran recitation is important, Ma'ani is important. So they told me, okay, you start reciting Quran. After we translate in a Farsi. And I told them this is wrong. Because you should start talking in Farsi. People understand what I'm reciting. Okay. So translation should come first, recitation should come second.
So they were waiting for...
And then people maybe...
Moved.
So sometimes the mistake is because logistically, they don't know what they should do. And because they are not in the field of Quran. But, we have in the community people that try to control everything and you cannot stop them. So that's another problem.
Don't you feel like because you are the person that has the knowledge of the Quran that they should respect what you say, but rather they kind of push? Do you feel like sometimes it's pushed aside?
That's true, but then time to time I find that if I push a lot, I get more, in this respect. So I try to build up some communication with them. But sometimes you find that maybe they think that is something for you, or you are too much demanding, or then you.
There's a very fine line between arrogant and humble. And if I know anything, you're a very very humble person, mashallah.
Thank you very much,
Habibi. But so that's something. Like you said, community needs to work on. And, one of the things that you gave as a remedy is to have it as a main feature to showcase people what you are reciting. Because, oftentimes, like you said, sometimes you just throw someone up there like, recite whatever. Whereas how much preparation goes into it? Like, let's say you get invited for Imam Al-Hassan, alayhi salam. For Imam Al-Hassan, alayhi salam, you're invited to recite 15 minutes. You go through, what ayah should I read, in which maqam should I read? What's the thought process behind how I prepare? Because, like for example, for me, if I want to do a lecture, I already have the guideline. I'm talking about Imam Hassan, so I'll find somewhere in his life something that people might not know, a story that I can elaborate on. But for you, how's the thought process when your preparation?
If your question is about myself, I try to just do some research and finding the ayat which is related to that mahfil if I get time, and then I try to understand what is the meaning of them, and a bit of engineering of finding maqamaat for that one, or a bit working on my voice. So at least I do some preparation. But one what's calling one of the issues of some of our reciters is they don't do that. To just choose the ayahs with the shams, they're reciting, and they think that the recitation is just only nice
voice. Vocal,
which is wrong. And that's why, again, community they understand, okay, these reciters, why we should give them the space and
if they don't
recognition
take it
if they don't take it seriously.
Because that's because like the people that do take it very seriously, like yourself, it's a whole art. There's a lot that goes behind closed doors for you to prepare. It's not like you just rock up, Bismillah, do whatever. So that, inshallah, people can understand that, especially people that are in centers that invite reciters, that they should have a different lens to view them and how much preparation they put beforehand. So inshallah that will help them understand more. My question now, I think we're going to get into the gist of the maqamaat. So just in a nutshell, imagine I knew nothing about recitation. Can you explain to the listeners what are maqamaat? For the absolute beginner, what are maqamaat?
Okay. I think, again, this is a very difficult question.
Yeah.
If I want to back to the history, I don't know all of the history, how the maqamaat comes.
We'll get the history.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I mean, but generally, if I come up with a very general answer, is we have 7 main Arabic maqam, which we're using for recitation. They can remember the word Suna'a bis-Sahar, which Sad stand for Sabah.
Acronym, yeah.
9, stand for Nahavand. Ain stand for Ajam or Chaharga.
Ajam or Chaharga. Okay.
Chaharga. Ba stand for Bayati.
Bayat.
Sin is Sika.
Yeah.
Ha is Hijaz. And Ra is Rast or Rast.
Okay.
So these 7.
7. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the acronym to remember it.
Yeah, that's
inshallah. Okay.
Inshallah.
So these different maqamaat are different recitations or different melodies?
They are different, I should say, combination of pitch.
Okay.
Or I should say the combination of pitch or similarity of some of the pitch. We say, for example, this is maqam Nahawan. How they come up to the name, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there is a collection of pitch.
Okay. So let's delve into the history a little bit.
Yeah.
Just before we go into the history of them, is each maqam or each one of these maqamat used in specific locations in the Holy Quran?
Location of, you mean the ayat?
Yeah, the type of ayat.
Okay. We can have a bit of rule of thumb.
Yeah.
But it's not very 100%. So myself, what I believe is we need a fiqhul musiqi for Quran.
Like a science of Quran. Science of melodies of the Quran. Yeah. Okay.
And impact to our, I think, ulama and to scholars, which for some reason, they don't go into that path. But really, if you think that the Quran has 7 levels of, ma'ani, and each level have other ma'ani.
Yeah, different doors that are open.
Yeah, if you try to convey the meaning with the music, then you need those knowledge. And this integration is very important. So I think it would be very amazing if someone opened this door and coming up with the solutions. So the things which I'm talking tonight is a bit of gut feeling or rule of thumb or some of my experience.
The feeling that you get with,
But I cannot say is 100% correct or is 100% I can cover it, all the situations.
Yeah.
But for sure, maybe for some situation or for some ayat, some maqamat is not acceptable. Or at least some tone of recitation is not acceptable.
Sure.
And we can have a different example. I did a bit of
let's get through them.
For example, last week we had a recitation, then I thought of this verse of Quran.
Bismillah.
Inna shaytana lakum adu fattakhidhuhu aduwa. And I thought myself, Mortaza, inna shaytana lakum adu. If my father tell that guy is my enemy, to me is enough.
Yeah.
If he tell me Mortaza fattakhidhuhu aduwa, maybe I become upset. But if the Quran say fattakhidhuhu aduwa,
take him as an enemy.
It means take him seriously. Yeah. Or another side is he's your enemy. Maybe for example, X is my enemy, but he's not very, he cannot make, he cannot make problem for me. So I'll leave it.
Yeah.
But for inna shaytan lakum adu fattakhidhuhu
make sure that you're very much guiding yourself.
Now the question is, how do you recite this? How do you convey this?
Which melody?
Which melody? How you're tuned? How you're... Then you can think of, for example, you can inna shaytan lakum adu. For this kind of news, you can use maqam like rast. Maqam rast is for telling the fact. So something is not very emotional, is not very down, is not very exciting.
It's very...
Inna shaytana lakum adu. Maqam rast. Now, if you want to emphasize on fattakhidhuhu aduwwa, maybe one way is you are moving to another maqam to convey the message. This is maqam rast, but you can have him rest and maybe nahaban, for example, like that.
Bismillah.
Inna shaytana lakum aduwwun fattakhidhuhu aduwwa. But for aduwwa, I back to maqam hijazi.
Okay, so you did 3.
Yeah, I did 3. So, but the point is, you should do your research, and you should make sure that you understand what you are doing and what that verse is about. Sometimes there is one technique, but other techniques is, for example, you can repeat. For example, you say inna shaytana lakum aduw, you waqf or stop, and then quickly. So because some reciter like reciting inna shaytana lakum aduw, then it takes 15 minutes. They look around. And then it goes, and the Sami, I forget what's the meaning.
Yeah.
What? Inna shaytana lakum adu fattakhidhuhu aduwwa. And this, now, I put the lahn of being a bit friendly. Fattakhidhuhu aduwwa. But I mean,
does it?
It needs more example.
So let's.
But you see,
you can see very different feeling, very different emotion that you get from each recitation.
And what's happening for me is, for example, if I need someone like you as a scholar, I start reciting and ask Hajj, what do you think? You know the Quran, you know the tafsir.
Yeah.
What do you think? How can what this mani about? For example, another ayat which I wrote down is, for example, ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. Who is أبرار? Imams. Or the another level of the mu'minin. As a reciter, if I don't know أبرار backs to the Imam, I just recite.
Yeah, normal.
But if I know this is, for example, for Imam Reza, توفنا مع الأبرار. So how you are going to recite is not also sometimes easy. Another ayah.
So which one would you use for that?
For this one, I think maqam
Nahawand,
or bayati. So because this is about like a dua. So for sure, I think maqam ras is not nice for this one. But it's up to your situation.
How you take it as well.
Or which maqam you use for the verse before that one, and what type of feeling you are going to
create.
Yeah, it is. For example, let's
just so that everyone knows what maqam.
Okay.
Maybe you want to give examples. Let's say like
them,
yeah. I mean, if you can get all of them, fantastic.
Yeah,
but if you can give like the maybe one at a time, and we get an understanding of the.
Inshallah.
As long as
no, all good.
As long as you're okay with that.
No, I'm okay. So
Bismillah. Whichever one you want to start with.
So I'm starting with maqam rast, as I think as you asked me in the beginning of the this conversation. So for each maqam, we should at least have one miftah or key.
Yes.
Which means that it reminds you what that maqam is about. When I'm starting recitation, normally comes to me. But if you want to start just only with maqam rast, it's better just to remember
to have that melody in
at
your
least
head.
For a start.
Okay.
So the famous maqam rast, which I get it from Basim Karbala, is ربنا صلي على أحمد خير المرسلين وعلى الساقي على الحوض أمير المؤمنين. And you see, this is a bit happy.
Yeah. So rest is generally
for saying the news.
Saying news,
happiness, and being confident.
Is it like an empowering one as well?
It
can be empowering.
Yes, it can be, or sometimes just to give you some confidence or inspire you to do something.
Okay,
this is maqam rast.
Maqam rast. All right.
For example, for Iran, we have a very famous one. I know it in Farsi. محمد نبودی ببینی شهرآزاد. You say this is a lot of
sing it,
courage is there.
Yeah.
So this is maqam rast. Now the question is, you should feel that maqam.
Yes.
And you should see different example of that maqam. And you see, I don't bind it myself just to recitation. If that is Basem, I'll listen. If that's like a Farsi Radudi, I'll listen. If it's from like a what's that Radud Bayati, I'll listen. So because you should understand where and in which situation they are using that
which
emotion.
Maqam. Yeah.
And for me, it's easier to listen from Radud because usually they are using in a right context. And then you can learn from them. I can learn from Egyptian, doesn't matter. But for them, because we have a bit of difference as well. I mean, the way we are looking at Quran. So I can use them.
Tafsir. Even because of its tafsir, it changes what you use. Yeah.
So for them, it's just they want to recite Quran for maybe 1 hour. Okay, let's see. That's part of their, custom. But for me, if I want to recite in 5 minutes, which maqam I should use? Why that maqam? What that maqam? How that maqam showing my feeling? At least a bit of, convergence. Still, I should call till a stage. This is rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Or my gut feeling.
General rule. Yeah. There's exceptions, obviously. There's outliers. Yeah. So generally happy, strengthening.
Even you use for courage or
courage. Yeah.
For example, even I saw that some people using when people are going to Arba'in.
Okay.
You're going to Arba'in, you have a good feeling.
Empowering them. Yeah.
You see? I mean, if you know what is your feeling about, you can use it.
Okay. Beautiful.
But sometimes, for example, maybe that maqam is about, that ayah is about azab. But for a reason, you think that people deserve the azab. I'm not sure. I'm not a scholar.
No. I understand what you're saying. You're saying, for example, let's say you come towards a verse about the bravery of Abu Fadl Abbas.
Yes.
As an example.
Or, for example, that ayat is about like a munafiqin azab or the azab al-munafiqin. Okay. You think that they deserve this azab. You use maqam rast. Okay. So you should know.
That empowers you because you know that you're following the right path. So in the same sense, yes.
So because, if you're back to the books, they say use maqam sabah for ayatul azab. That's true. But how you looking at ayat? Maybe you are looking from alhamdulillah. This is for example, Imam Zaman victory. How do you recite it?
Exactly. So, it's gonna be sad maybe if you don't want to be part of that. Maybe a remembrance kind of thing.
Yes. But for example, for me, if this is the Zuhr of Ashura or this is the afternoon after Ashura, for me, I should not recite Maqam Rast. There's no way.
Yeah.
No way. So that is for sure you need Maqam Sabah. But then you need a bit of, recovery. Then in the night you go to Maqam Sigai and, but the point is, for me, I should say it's a red line if you're in the Ashura, you are coming a bit, very victorious.
Yeah. Needs to be as sad as possible. Yeah. So the next one would be Sabah, you're saying?
Yeah, Maqam.
Sabah is the sad one.
Sabah is a sad one. So Sabah is very easy for Sabah. I can recite Quran like a Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد. That's a sample. It's not about the ma'ani, because for ma'ani, then we should do something else.
Yeah.
But for Maqam Sabah is very sad. But something very interesting about Maqam Sabah is, if you're looking at the pitch, or I should say the right word is pitch. The pitch of Maqam Sabah, they are very dense. They're very dense. So it's not very, so I think maybe we have just 3 notes as something which we call it gens. So gens of Maqam Sabah is very tense, And you can have an analogy between your face is very tense and the pitch is very tense. So that the distance between melody is not a lot. Compared with Maqam Sega, which is, stretch.
Okay.
And that's another interesting thing that it is about Maqam Saba. So Maqam Saba is very easy. In Farsi, we call it Shura Arabi.
Shura Arabi.
What does it mean? It means that in Farsi, we don't have this Maqam. It's come from either Iraqi or Egyptian, I don't know.
Okay.
But the root
Arabic roots.
Yeah, Arabic roots.
So what about the one we studied earlier? What was the
Maqam Rast or Maqam
Rast
is, I think we have it in Farsi as well.
Farsi.
Maybe the similar name for Farsi should be Maqam Naba, which we use it again for courage and those stuff.
So beautiful. And
another Maqam, which Maqam, we call it Al Maqamaat, is Maqam Bayati.
Maqamaat, the mother of all Maqamaat.
Usually a lot of with Bayati you can move to lots of Maqamaat, and also for Quran recitation, that is a custom or sunnah that we are starting with Maqam Bayat, we are finishing with Maqam Bayat.
Okay.
But for Maqam Bayat, the part which I like it, there is a branch of Maqam Bayat, we call it Dashti. For tonight, I prepared Dashti.
So does each one of them branch out?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's not just main, so 7 and then plus the branches.
I think we have at least 300 branches.
Yeah.
300 branches.
Let's not scare everyone.
I don't know all of them even.
So, but 7 branches. But which one has the most branches? Would it be Bayati?
I cannot remember. I should say maybe Bayati. So they have a family. I'm not sure which one has.
Is there a reason why they start and end with Bayati? Because you said traditionally it starts and it finishes.
I think because it's very calm.
Yeah.
Because you want to start the recitation.
Warm up your voice.
Warm up your audience.
Get them ready. Get your voice ready.
Yeah. So usually you start with Maqam Bayati because it is a bit calm.
Okay.
And then you can move up to different branch of Maqam Bayati.
Yeah. What's the key?
The key I'm using is this one, which again a bit of back to Imam Hussein. Amiri Hussaini wa na'am al-amir. This Maqam Dashti, part of Bayati. سرور فؤاد البشير النذير علي وفاطمة والداه. Now I'm going to teach the audience that وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما. That's Maqam Bayati.
But then, it's stretched Bayati?
Yeah.
Or it's not like Sabah?
No, it is a bit more than a stretch compared to the Sabah.
Okay. Yeah. And it has a range? Because you were discussing ranges of the melodies.
Yeah.
Or we don't get too technical.
It is too technical. I should look at the reference. But the good things about Maqamaat of Arabic Maqam is there is a website. We can put inshallah
we'll put in the link
in the podcast. They call it Word Maqam. Okay. All the note and tonality is there. And you can play and find out what's the different gens, because usually you should know what is the gens of, for example, Maqam Sika, which is either 3 notes or 4 notes, or 3 pitch or 4 pitch. Combination of them we call Maqam. So one level down, it is something as gens.
Yeah.
Combination of 2 or 3 gens is a Maqam.
Okay.
Yeah, but a bit
technical. But if anyone wants it, we'll put the link in. Definitely. Yeah. So Bayati, Sabah, Rast.
Inshallah, we go to the Sika. Sika, the famous one, I think all of us we heard is Tala'al Badru Al.
That's Sika.
That's Sika. Tala'al Badru Alayna min thaniyatil wada. That's silly. This is gens of Maqam Sega. But now very interesting. If you're looking at the reference, they say Maqam Sega is in a happy mood, okay? But if you back to our Radud, you see that they are using very smartly in a very
sad way.
Not sad way, but in a courage way. For example, we have famous Rad in Iran, we call it Mahmoud Karimi. He uses it when Hazrat Ali Akbar, he have a poem about Hazrat Ali Akbar going to the battlefield.
Let's hear it.
So now, okay, before reciting, now I'm thinking why he used sikah, because maybe one reason is he think that let's forget that they killed Hazrat Ali Akbar, so he's not Shahid anymore, and he's going to kill all of them. So
courage, bravery, strength.
And also part of sikah is while you are a bit upset, while you know that you are ready for shahada or something, at the same time you think that you choose the right path. So that you have that feeling of at the same time a bit happy, a bit ready for the fight, and also you have a courage. So you are not dead. So your feeling is not dead. So sikah is
empowering.
And it is about when the Prophet came and you can see Medina, that feeling as well. So for Mahmoud Karimi, I think یک طرف اکبر به میدان. You see, it's about Hazrat Ali.
So he came towards a battlefield.
How you translate that one? I'll leave it to the audience. But you should. Now, interesting point about the sikah is, in the reference book, they said Maqam sikah is for happiness. But I can recite Maqam sikah in a sad motion. For example,
Bismillah.
Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdillah.
There's no happiness there.
No happiness, but this Maqam sikah.
So you can play with it.
You can play. There is part of Maqam you can put it in, but you want to show your emotion with Maqam sikah. You want to show your emotion, but it is too much. So you should make sure that you don't recite too much Maqam sikah. Maybe it makes your audience
as well.
But again, it's up to you how you feel the situation. How's your majlis?
Beautiful. Like. So طلع البدر sikah.
Okay.
That's number 4.
So we have Maqam Hijaz and Maqam Charga. So Maqam Hijaz also is famous. Allah, 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 La ilaha illallah. Very famous.
That's
a lot of azan is Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. If the audience there saw the Muhammad Rasulullah movie, the music of that movie is Maqam. Dun dun da dun da 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 dun da dun. So what's happened? I think that guy, the director, he did a research. I cannot remember the history. I think he did a research to come up with this music.
Melody, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he did a lot of good research to come up with the Hijaz.
But that's the key. You can do the first or adhan.
Allah. Allahu Akbar, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Huwa Allahu Alladhi La ilaha illahu. So for me, Maqam Hijaz is, again, to compare with the sikah, it is more upsetting.
Hijaz is upsetting.
Yeah. Compared to...
Okay.
So it is something between sikah and sabah. So Hijaz is not as upset as sabah, because for sabah
is just sad.
Very sad. And I think we should not use it much. Just very, very rare situation, a specific situation. If you want to change the mood of your audience, or you need a context for that one, do that. Maqam Hijaz, I used to have a very... one of my friend, he used to tell me that Quran recitation without Hijaz doesn't make any sense, because traditionally and originally, authentically comes from Hijaz and from the Arab countries. So Maqam Hijaz is very important. So emotionally, you can put them between sikah and
sabah. But
to me is
you can play around with
if you want to looking again from like a Radudi perspective, it is something at the end. For example, before someone becomes Shaheed, that part of feeling you can use the Maqam Hijaz.
Okay.
Maybe that's a good scene. I mean,
to understand before
how you can use
the highlight.
Still you have hope. Still you have too much emotion. Still you want to tell something, but it's not as effective as sikah. For sikah is a beginning of something. the general sikha. But you see, you can use even the sikha which I use as a, in a sad mode. Still, you have hope. Still, you want to battle, but
it's not sad yet.
Yeah, it's not.
It's at that edge. Yeah. Okay. That's
now the question is, how we can use for ayatul Quran? Then you should think. What is your meaning? Did you look at the tafsir? What that ayat about? How we can use them?
Yeah.
So what else we missed?
We have Nahawand
and Chaharga. So maybe we move to the Nahawand. So Nahawand is one of the famous ones. It's very lovely.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I think it's everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
Is it the they say it's, well, I've been told it's the romantic.
It's a romantic.
It's a romantic melody.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think you should use for like a dua is good. For example, the ayat Rabbana innana sami'na munadiya. You can use the like a Nahawand. Or some of the Egyptian reciters they are using when they want to tell some story. For some reason, traditionally they
like Yusuf and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. So they are using, if they want to start a new chapter or new, storyline in the Quran.
They use Nahawand.
They use Nahawand to change the mode.
What would you give as a key?
So the key is using one of the Sheikh Mustafa Ismail famous Nahawand is ولما برزوا لجالوت وجنوده قالوا ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. But he used very nice techniques. For example, he said فهزموهم بإذن الله. So he used his tone just to say فهزموهم بإذن الله, to try to mimic them. Try to what's the English word? To tease them. فهزموهم بإذن الله. Rather than say بإذن الله, إذن الله. So you see, sometimes you use your different type of vocal and register
to give a deeper meaning. Yeah.
So it's not just only Maqamaat, it is the way you are using volume or your register or your mouse.
Because like right now when you recited it, I'm thinking to myself, it was more on the sadder side, if I can say.
Yes.
But it's also used in a very, you know what I mean? Like I think the ayah that you had ready is the different end of the spectrum of Nahawand.
Yeah.
Can I love Nahawand, so I'm just gonna make you recite it if that's okay.
So you mean the
I love the one that you were gonna recite for Nahawand.
Okay. So I mean, different reciters they use Nahawand in different way, but usually the general stream of Nahawand is, as you mentioned, it is more on lovely romantic.
Yeah.
ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا ربنا فاغفر لنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. اسمع محمد.
الله محمد.
But again,
beautiful.
Yeah, and sometimes you should repeat the ayat. Sometimes you should cut them. Different type of techniques.
It comes with time. Like every time I listen to it, I'm like, maybe there's a chance I can. Definitely not. That's 6, yeah?
Yeah, and the maqam chaharga, which is, I think, back to more Farsi root or Iranian root. Myself, I don't recite it much, but it's very lovely maqam.
Yeah.
So, and it is one of the natural way of maqamat. For example, if you start going normal pitch, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, the reason is you don't have the middle pitch, something we call it, I forget the name, but I think the difference between the pitch is a bit high, and that's why the kids also can recite. So that's why a lot of people as a directors or as a musician, they're using this maqam for kids. It's very easy to understandable.
The thing that you just recited, that's called the sillam. Is that right? The one they just went.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Yeah, so that's a pitch. Yeah,
that's the pitch. Yeah. So I've always wanted to know this because, like, you hear different things about this. There's a normal pitch which is 8. Is it 8 or 7?
Yeah, 8. Yeah.
8. So from do to do is 8. So there's qarar and then jawab.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's another 7 above that. So from do to do is jawab. So qarar to jawab. And then the same sillam goes up. And there's jawab al-jawab.
Yeah.
Is that just the height? And then there's another one or no?
No, we don't have. Maybe you have it. So you have qarar, jawab, and jawab al-jawab. I think.
Qarar, jawab, jawab, jawab. Is there anything higher or not?
In Quran, we don't have it.
No Quran, but is there?
In Pakistan, we have it.
In what, sir?
In like a Pakistani community, they have it.
What is that?
They call it soprano or something like that.
Okay, but generally the Quran goes from qarar, jawab, jawab, jawab.
Yeah.
Jawab, jawab is the highest that you read.
Yeah.
So it's the pitch, the height of it, or is it?
Is it? I should say. I'm not sure what's the correct scientific answer. It's a combination of pitch and the pattern.
Okay.
Yeah, but
you're saying the same thing, but is it like a?
The pitch is higher for sure.
Higher, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so for sure the pitch of jawab is more than qarar.
So it's like almost kind of
end of the
screaming kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then where you go, the first qarar is like the lowest. Is anything lower than qarar?
No. I mean, you can start from lowest, then your jawab become a bit lower, and because for example, if your voice is not ready or if your register is not as normal people, you should start from low. So for example, for some people like me, for me it's easy to start a bit lower, and then I don't need to put a lot of pressure when I'm going to
the higher. So I want to go back to it, but before I move on, you were saying for the children, chaharga.
Yeah, they're using for the kids.
Okay,
because it is understand.
Yeah.
But it's very lovely.
So give us an example of a.
Okay, so maybe just. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. نبئ عبادي أني أنا الغفور الرحيم. So this feeling, you should be very careful.
It's very free flowing. Yeah.
So it's kind of majesty. For example, I know in Iran, in one of the tradition for us in Muharram, we use when Abul Fazl Abbas tried to talk with his what's English for swords.
Okay, yeah.
So he tried to show the bravery.
Yeah.
So they use the maqam mahur or ajam. So you should be very careful when you are using maqam. It is more for ayat al-dua, is for happiness. Maybe when you are, for example, you read the ayah, you think
there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of emotion.
Emotion, but in a very
good emotion.
Good emotion.
Good scenario.
It's not in a sad emotion. So for me, you should not use if you think that ayat it is about some sadness, or you think that you are not deserving to that, for example, God's mercy.
Yeah.
Then you should not use
that.
It's up to you. How do you translate?
But general rule of thumb.
Yeah, it is a happy mood.
Okay.
For example, I know happened for Ustad Menchavi that he in Surah An-Naba he recite Inna lil muttaqina mafaza in a sad mood, maqam sabah. One of the Samia got very upset and shout on him, why you are reciting Maqam Sabah? Do you think that we are from Jahannam? We are Munafir, and we are not Inna lil Muttaqina?
Did he reply or not?
And then he replied, sorry for that. I think. So I'm not sure what he replied, but
that's again going back to the how the audience and the listeners can okay.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, that's important.
So we've discussed, is that all of them?
Yeah, all of them. Yeah.
And obviously you said there's a lot in between them as well.
Yeah,
that you can merge two together. But like let's say for a beginner, you know, is there, let's say for vocals for a beginner as a Quran reciter, not necessarily to take up the stage, but let's say I want to recite Quran beautifully at home. Many of us would listen to, Qur'an and, we see clips and we're like, you know what, I wouldn't ever do it. I wouldn't dare to do it. Maybe we wouldn't even dare doing it in front of my own, family members, but I would like to start learning, how do we go about it? Is there like a vocal range that a person can have, or are you able to hit all the notes? Like for example, let's say if I was to start reciting Quran, would I need to know what type of voice I have in order for me to know my limitations? That makes sense?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, but I think the answer back to your teacher that should test what is your registration, what is your range of your voice.
How do you test it?
Yeah, I mean,
that has to go to a teacher.
Yeah, it should go to the.
I'm not going to let you test me live.
No,
maybe after we turn off the mics, he's going to test me, and then we'll put it in the.
You need.
But there is a range.
Yeah, there is a range.
Okay.
So, for example, usually for females, range is higher than the males. So they are start higher and they can go higher. But for the males, they can start from below, go to some level. But again, different males, they have because we have some reciters, mashallah, they have very good tenor. We call it very bass sound. And they have very nice, like an alto, very, very high sound.
Okay.
But I mean, general answer is for the beginners, they should go to the expert. And tell them what is their range, and based on the range and the color of their voice and the type of their voice, what is the best reciter they should
listen to.
Okay. But there is some rules for listening, which I can tell that the best way for listening is if your teacher told you, okay, you choose this reciter and these verses, and this is very technical. For example, for Shahat Anwar, it is usually we tell to a student, don't choose the verses or the ayat which he recite when he was a bit old, because it's a bit slow. It make your voice damage.
You can damage your voice.
Yeah, because it's slow. They cannot cover
control it.
They cannot control it. So it's very important which age.
Wow.
Session or when you should listen.
Okay, we got no chance. Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes one issue with the old Egyptian reciters is some people make that rhythm a bit faster to make that recitation a bit nice.
Okay.
When you are listening, you say, "Oh, that's amazing," but that's not the natural
way.
And you try to
replicate it.
and that's very difficult. Again, it's that damage your voice. So a bit technical. That which reciter, which age group of him, which ayat. Some recitation is very technical because they just start high. So for them also that ayat
damages
and that
voice.
verses you should not use because very technical for you. But generally, assume that okay, this is a good one. Your teacher says, okay, choose that one. Now you should 10 times just listening to that recitation without repeating loudly or in your mind. Just listen 10 times. And the reason is, by that 10 times, you get the structure of recitation. Because what's happening, I continue.
Yep.
Okay, now 10 times you listen to the recitation. Now from start, sentence by sentence, or we call it nafas by nafas, each sentence, musical sentence, you should listen, repeat. Listen, repeat. If you don't make it perfect, don't move to the next one.
Awesome.
If you make it perfect, now you move to the next one. For example, for 10 sentences.
Okay.
Then you try to combine them together.
They're complete from start to finish.
And then that practice of 10 times just listening help you out because now you know the structure of recitation. So that's the best way of, copy reciters.
Yeah.
But it should become with the practice to present it to your teacher. Okay. Because you think that you are good, but you are not.
Yeah, because sometimes you hear it and you're like, yeah, but it's brilliant. And then someone else
again, it's back to the first part of discussion that we need that circle.
Yes.
So we need a circle of reciters. we needed this kind of, training session. So if I don't get it wrong, I want to say, if you don't have teacher, don't start this
journey,
because it damages your voice or it kills your motivation. You don't know where you should get to that one, and you don't get anywhere, and you think that recitation is not good for you. Maybe because you did not write the right path.
So the correct teacher is key in your journey, and then the second key is to have a circle around you to motivate you and keep you going.
I know a lot of talented kids in Sydney. They don't have teacher. They don't get anywhere. They're going here. Stop. Because recitation art very difficult. It's not just over the night. You have a nice voice. Some most give you the audience. Some might give you the mic, and you think you are good. No, it's not like that. So, but as a
general
rule of thumb, you need a teacher, and you should listen. At least for 5 years, you should be follower of those
people that you listen to.
And then maybe if someone tell you, okay, now you can come up with your own style, maybe you can do that. Maybe
because then you'll be able to. Because right now, let's say for example, people might find it difficult to isolate that if a reciter is reciting Nahawand or Sabah or Sika or whatever have you. But as you grow and the more that you listen, the more you try to follow and copy, then you become acquainted with it, and then it becomes very familiar to you.
Another mistake which is happening. I'm very happy that you come up with this point. Don't start with Maqamaat.
Oh, really?
Don't. No one should.
I'll take that back. So
you should start just copying the reciters. At least for 2 years.
So copy, but you don't necessarily need to know what you're copying.
No.
So just try to follow the same rhythm, the same tone, the same pitch. All right.
Because some people start training for Maqamaat. They know what is a Maqamaat, and they think that that's the end of
the training. So you think it's vital that you listen, copy, and then that way you kind of develop muscle memory, so to say.
Don't start with Maqamaat. That's a mistake.
Okay.
That's a mistake, because recitation is not just about Maqamaat. Maqamaat is just helping you out if you want to make something, or for example, Maqamaat is like that. You start with Shahat Anwar for 3 years. Now you're happy with your style. You want to move to Abdul Fattah Shashai. Then to find the similarity between these two reciters, then Maqamaat help you out.
Okay.
Or if you want to combine some Maqamaat, or the next level is you want to use Maqamaat for conveying the meaning, then you think that I need Ras and Nahaban, I need Ras and Sika, then you need Maqamaat. But it is not essential. Essential is teacher, tajweed, listening and copying reciters, and having the circle of recitation.
Would that go for, because we're discussing Maqamaat and recitation, would that kind of be applicable with, let's say, supplication, dua? Would that be applicable to, being a radud, for example, like listening to a particular reciter and following them?
You mean for the radud, or
for anyone trying to learn the melodies of a particular reciter doing, let's say, dua, Joshan Kabir? Is that the same instance that you doesn't need to know what?
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, that you can go down that line.
But for the radud, I think they have different also techniques. For example, I know in Farsi we call it, okay, this is Zamine, this is Wahid, this is,
Yeah.
So they are different. I think the same, possibly for that one, they should go and see who is teaching them. That's my feeling. I'm not sure. I'm not in that field.
But training your ear to hear that's good, training yourself to repeat that which you hear is a skill. That you need to hone over time.
Yeah, is a skill.
So what's the most difficult thing then as a Quran reciter? Like, is it the memorization? Is it trying to stay in the Maqamaat, or is it something like breathing techniques? Or
for me, difficult part is being innovative, which means
innovative.
For example, for me now in my stage, I'm thinking that now I'm reciting, for example, in Shahat style. The next verse I want to go to the Raf'at.
Okay.
And it's not easy, because I should remember what was that style and how I can move to combination of Maqamaat. For me, it's very easy, but moving from one style to another style,
that's where it gets technical. Okay.
It's a bit,
like challenge accepted for you, huh?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm okay, but no, it's not easy, because some people that are more, talented, naturally they're talented to move to the different style.
Yeah.
At least for me, it's like that. And I saw a lot of reciters that are doing that. I think that can be a bit challenging.
Would it? Because you were saying people that our listeners can quickly pick up, would it be very kind of, how would I say this, visible to people that they can see the complete change of style, and it might kind of put them off if people doesn't do it. If people don't do it properly, it will put them off.
Understand.
Yeah,
the good listener easily understands.
Yeah, they're like, oh, hold on.
Easily.
It doesn't sound as good as I thought if you didn't do it right. Yeah,
easily understand. Okay. Last night we had a very special guest from Iran, Sayyid Jawad Hosseini.
Yep.
Very interesting what he did. Before him, one reciter started reciting in Abdul Basit fashion.
Okay.
Now, if someone reciting Abdul Basit very heavy, and the mode of the majlis is become very, formal, a bit, upsetting, and very, in a very old fashion. If someone recite Abdul Basit, the next reciter is me. Okay, how should I break this situation?
You're not going to start with Bayati, are you?
For him, what he did, he started with Sheikh Rifat. But the Rifat voice is somehow similar to Abdul Basit in a different style. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yas'alunaka 'anil anfal. You see, from Basit,
changed it.
So he started with Rifat. So, this guy is smart. He know how to break the...
Yeah.
And then we have one Radut. After Sayyid Jawad, they asked him, Iranian Radut, that now you do the final conclusion with the name of Imam Hussein.
Yeah.
He told, okay. Because Sayyid Jawad, last night, he did it very well. I mean, he just break the legs. Mashallah, very good recitation. And that guy also is smart. He said, I'm not sitting in the chair he sits because it doesn't make sense. He sat there without mic. He
started reciting.
And he very good, mashallah. And so you see that also part of the skills is maybe you are very good in shahat, but if someone recites shahat before you, then you should do something else. And then you see you need a different skills.
That's the art. Right? That's again going back to the circles that you need to kind of grow together and help each other.
Ahsant.
But like you've covered everything, and you've showed how difficult it is to get into such a thing. But definitely teacher is a vital importance, but finding one is a whole different avenue, isn't it?
It's a different.
Yeah, you're gonna have me calling you very, very soon. Now, inshallah, what would you? So that's the piece of advice I would give a person that's young. Find a teacher. That's the advice you would.
That's my advice.
Until they find a teacher, what should they do?
They listen to Quran.
Just listen.
So it's something which call it uns ba Quran, or love of the Quran. I think you become reciters if you love this career and this path. At the same time, my advice is, because I can see, unfortunately, there is a deviation between Radut and reciters. They should love each other. They should know their language, and there should be some bridge between them.
Working
both
together.
Of them.
As
a Quran reciter, you should love Ahlul Bayt, and this culture should change. So I have a bit of complaint toward my colleagues and reciters that I don't see much initiatives from their side. But for the kids, if they love Quran, they should love Quran. They should keep listening to Quran, inshallah.
They should be pushed towards it more.
I think that's come naturally, and they understand time to time. And I think back to the personality. To me, is Quran reciters is more, I should say, safe career generally for the family. I mean, I don't want to go to detail.
I think everyone understood. Everyone understood.
So again, it's up to the characteristics of your kids. But it's safe, but as long as you have a good connection with, Ahlul Bayt, with the lectures.
Of course.
I used to listen to some of the ulama, especially when, I don't want to bring the name, but when that guy talks about Quran, I'll learn a lot.
Mashallah.
And then it makes sense for me, because you know what's happened when you get to like a 40 or 45, you say, okay, I recite a lot. What's next? And then you say, okay, now after 20 years, I'm thinking, okay, I should now know the meaning of the Quran. And the next challenge is what that Quran talking about.
So even that, like, I think even lecturers and Quran reciters should work together. You and I, like, even in the instance, like, let's say we talk about let's say doing tafsir of the Holy Quran. Let's say we do Surah Yasin as an example. We do a tafsir of Surah Yasin, and then people understand the details and what occurred, where it occurred, what's the lessons that were learnt, and then they want to recite it, knowing what they're reciting, and they listen to a reciter that they really like their recitation, and then they follow them, and then that creates a more dynamic connection that it's more kind of solid within themselves. It creates that connection with the Quran to a different level. And so you're completely correct. There's a lot of things that we discussed in this talk that were very vital. The Maqamaat, beautifully explained. Thank you so much. And I think we need to learn more from you from that. That was just like a touch of drop in the ocean. But the fact that I think everyone needs to learn the importance of a Quran reciter, the work that they put behind closed doors, just to go up. And, even in saying that, 5 minutes is not respecting the art. Like you need to have, 15 plus minutes where people need to respect. And most of the times, and you've seen it, where Quran reciters, Allah clearly says when the Quran is recited, then you should listen. Where you find Quran reciters are there, they're reciting, and people are just, looking at their watches, they're talking, it's as if the Quran reciter is not even there. And the educated communities, and it showcase the respect and the love they have for Allah and the Ahlul Bayt, is by listening to their teachings. When the Quran is recited, you need to be attentive. You need to listen. You need to not, speak over the Quran reciter, do stuff, be on your phone. Rather, listen to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's, I think, something that we need to work on as a community as well. But inshallah, this shed a light to all the listeners about the hard work that each and every Quran reciter goes through. Telling me that it'll take me 2 years just listening. That in itself, even with saying that, but inshallah, I know I've learned a lot from this discussion, and I know the listeners, without a doubt, will definitely learn a lot from this discussion. And the Quran in itself, I remember someone said, I can't remember who, but it says, if ever I needed to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would get up and pray. If ever I need to talk to Allah. And if ever I needed for Allah to speak to me,
I had this one, I don't know.
I open the Holy Quran. Because it's the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and many times, like we stated earlier, comes out whenever there's a Katib Kitab, someone's getting married or someone dies. And in Ramadan, that's the only times it comes out.
Even, we have a hadith said, all the ayat of Quran is about Ahlul Bayt. Or ayat from Ayatul Bahjat, that if you want to look at the face of Imam Zaman, looking at the Mus'haf. A lot of things.
I don't doubt that at all. I mean, they're the same.
I want to add something
different
about
sides
your
of the same
point.
coin. Bismillah.
That 5 minutes. I think at least the minimum from our community is, okay, if they invite me or any other reciters, if they invite me 4 times for a mahfil, okay, I'm happy 3 times 5 minutes. At least want to make it special for that reciter, not for me. Or think of something. So I don't want. We don't want to give too much, because for some session it's not doable to make the recitation as a feature program. But if that's an opportunity, why not? So let's put it in two ways, because I think that reciters, they should prove themselves, and community also, they give themselves.
No, I completely agree. If I disagreed, I'd say you shouldn't ever have 5 minutes, to be honest with you. I think you always should have more, because Quran is the basis and the ongoing miracle of Rasool Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But in saying that, I think we've covered most of the points. Anything you'd like to add at the end? Beautiful having you here. Thank you so much for your time. It was a blessing for us, for our listeners. I guess we end on that note by thanking you for being here, for sharing your wisdom with us, and inshallah for our listeners, hopefully you've gained. Hopefully you look at Quran, the art of recitation, the connection that you have with the Holy Quran, and indeed the Quran reciters in your communities, our youth, people that are in, let's say, organizations and communities, at their heads, maybe put more of an emphasis on how we teach the Quran, how we teach the recitation, how much emphasis we put in the tafsir and teaching them to have a connection with the Holy Quran. And in saying that, inshallah, we end. the talk on that note. وآخر دعوانا وأن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.